Hey everybody, it's Eddie J on crypto, and we're going to get started real fast here. So we've got betrayal. At least it feels that way. Rostin Benham is the CFTC Chairman, and he is basically Gary Gensler's counterpart, Gary Gensler being over at the SEC. Well, CFTC now says that Ethereum is not a commodity. That is a huge reversal considering he was just in front of Congress not that long ago talking about, hey, Bitcoin, Ethereum, commodities, we should be taking over that space, blah, 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 blah. That huge reversal puts Gary Gensler and the SEC over Ethereum. I want you to stop and think about this because that would mean that it's a possibility that everything operating along that project, layer twos, side chains, smart contract projects, all that stuff, could wind up under the SEC and being seen as securities. So it's a very far-reaching kind of backtrack, and I wouldn't call it a backtrack. I really do look at it as a betrayal after, he's been talking all this stuff about how, it's a commodity and it belongs with the CFTC, and now it looks like the CFTC has all but given up on, trying to help properly regulate the cryptocurrency space and is going to leave it up to the SEC to continue to screw things up. So that's something to think about. Remember, that is within the United States. I think it's going to be hard to do anything considering, I don't think any one nation can truly dampen Ethereum. It'll take a small hit, maybe. Seriously, maybe. But you're probably going to force a lot of companies to change their corporate headquarters to places that will not look at Ethereum as a security so that they don't have to jump through unnecessary hoops from their perspective, unnecessary hoops to handle all of the regulation that comes with, securities. Mind you, not all the regulation is there for it. So that would be something to consider. Moving on, looking at how BitBoy Ben Armstrong is going after Kevin O'Leary, somebody else reminded us that, hey, Ben Armstrong is no innocent. So he released, ZachXBT said, hey, he's been tied to different rug pulls. He is a paid influencer. So take everything with a grain of salt. And frankly, I don't think he's any different than, a movie star, trying to sell perfume, or, a sports athlete trying to sell a sports drink. Everybody gets paid to use their fame to shill for a project or products. So it is what it is. But it does make me take things with a grain of salt. It does make me kind of stop and look at, everything, right? Now, I always do that, but I'm saying it out loud so that hopefully other people start to look at things and kind of, be a little bit skeptical. What BitBoy had to say about Kevin O'Leary kind of falls in line with other things and other research I've seen about the whole Kevin O'Leary FTX space. So, doesn't bear down on me only because, well, I'm not investing in anything that Kevin O'Leary has invested in, and I didn't have any money in FTX. Is what it is. Larry Fink of BlackRock, and this will touch on what I was talking about previously with regards to CFTC and SEC. Just listen. So Larry Fink says, hey, look, listen, the next step for the markets is going to be the tokenization of assets, which BlackRock is already in the process of doing with the help of JP Morgan Chase. Well, JP Morgan, see how old I am? Now, when you think about that, it's not the greater portion of the world that owns stocks and options and bonds and all that stuff. It's the smaller portion. So when you're talking about the tokenization of assets, well, it's basically the haves, not the have-nots, right? See where this is going? So it kind of makes me feel like, well, the stage is being set for the haves to do what they need to do to make money and make it more difficult, not them, but just in general, the stage has been set to make it more difficult for the have-nots to become haves. So be careful about where you're placing your money and watch what others are doing. BlackRock controls 10 point some odd trillion dollars in assets under management. Pay attention to that. They're tokenizing assets. Meanwhile, the CFTC and the SEC are trying to basically come down hard on crypto. And I mean real hard. So are you maneuvering crypto to be taken over by large corporations or traditional finance? I mean, we're kind of seeing it play out right now. So unless things change, it's not really looking like an even playing field, right? So it's something I am paying attention to with regard to my own investments. So how things work and all that good stuff. Still a lot to learn, a lot to research, but kind of just, thinking a little bit differently. I have no problem with, large organizations or, people taking their securities, tokenizing them so they can make more money off of it, but lending it, all that stuff. I have no issue with that. I do have issue when you make it more difficult for the average common person to make money as well, to take part in that wealth generation. Portugal was a safe haven for crypto, and then they flipped the script and started charging, or they're starting to charge 28% on short-term gains. So Italy is doing the same thing. They just announced that they're going to do 26%. On the back of them doing 26% for short-term gains for a population that only 2.3% of that population is involved in crypto, are they realizing profit too soon? Are they going to chase people away? Are they going to chase companies away? Maybe, maybe not, but that's a pretty high percentage. But I mean, unless it compares to what they're doing with stocks or anything else, it could be on par. As long as it's on par, hey, it is what it is. But what I'm looking at is they've also given license to Nexo and Gemini to give services there. So I don't know if they're trying to chase crypto away or trying to set the stage so that they're governing crypto at the at its onset in a way that's manageable. We'll see that play out, right? And I think maybe that's probably how a lot of countries are going to go, because you can set a number and you can change that number higher or lower, depending on what the feedback is from public, all that good stuff. But reform is coming. Just to say, Kraken cut 30% of their workforce. Kraken, centralized exchange. But this crew, they said, listen, we know we've got to cut 30% of our workforce. We've got to survive crypto winter. And so they gave away a whole bunch of stuff. If you are an immigrant, they're giving you immigrant resources, meaning if you're there on a work visa, they're giving you immigrant resources. They're giving you outsourced placement resources. They're giving you 4 months of pay, 4 months of healthcare benefits, just all kinds of things. So they're not happy. Jesse Powell over there is not happy to be cutting 30% of his workforce. But he feels that this is what they have to do to survive crypto winter, but he's letting that workforce go with a good amount of benefit. So if you're going to do something like that, I think he's learned from other companies not doing such a good job with this. They went public real fast, like, hey, we've got to let go 30%, but this is what we're giving those people. They're not going to just be kicked out the doors or something like that. This is what we're doing. Not bad at all. So normally I would go through the numbers. We should probably do that. Let me see if I have everything open that I'm supposed to have open. Let's see. Yeah, we can go through that. I didn't open up. I don't think this is going to work out too well. Let's see if we can open this up real quick. You know what? I'll bring you along for the ride. And if I fail, well, you'll see me fail at the same time, right? Let's open up all my saved groups and go. With regard to certain numbers. I'll even show you the list that came out today. So you had continuing jobless claims, 1.61 million. What was I believe that's what was done, but the previous was 1.55. Right? They should really make that scroll down with you so you can see what you're looking at. So is what it is. I mean, I've got to dig into these numbers a little bit more, see how the Dow is reacting, see how, the NASDAQ's reacting. But right now I'm kind of focused on crypto at the moment. But we do know that initial jobless claims data does affect crypto in a roundabout fashion, right? People go out of work, you're not going to have so much going in, right? So yeah, 225 right now. Let's see what else we got. So that's the period. That's the actual. This is the median. This is the forecast. Not bad. That's actually not too bad. But again, I'd have to look at these numbers to see how it's all playing out and how it all fits. Interesting. We're at 26 yesterday for fear and greed index, and today we're at 27. Previous to that, we were at 28, 29. Bitcoin is inching closer. Do you see this? It's inching closer right here to that previously established low of 17.6. So that's something I'm interested in, and it's moving away from obviously the new low of 15,482. Again, that's, if you're going to have a chart like this, my suggestion to you is have a chart that, looks at each one of the cryptos that you're interested in, right? And every now and then you might want to go side by side. So I might take this one and go side by side with like Ethereum or Polygon, just so I can see, well, how are they moving? What's the correlation between the two? Is there a larger, difference? And you can see that over here on this list where you can say, well, Bitcoin's up in the past 1 hour, Bitcoin's up 0.14%. Meanwhile, something like, XRP is down 0.5%. So obviously that got a little wider, right? And, maybe a little got decreased when you're looking at Doge, got increased, when you're looking at Polygon. But again, you would have to look at each one of these areas, 1 hour, 24 hours, 7 days, 30 days, 90 days, a year to date, to see how they all stack up. Right? There's even a tool, and I don't have it up, but there's a tool out there that will do all the comparisons across that time to tell you which one was a better purchase for a given time period and help you project what would be the better purchase going forward. That's interesting. Another tool out there is something that would look at, what's been the performance, as it is now and historically. Because remember, I give you the example of, Bitcoin had gone up, but then, Bitcoin and Polygon had gone up, Ethereum, but then Ethereum took a jump, and now they're moving like this instead of like this, right? That's the difference. So which one is better? It'll also help you figure out the pairing, right? So if you wanted to, swap one crypto for another, you can also do a comparison on how to do that. What's the best pairing to do? Now, if you think about this, you can take and read a book on foreign exchanges, because the Forex market is basically that. You're taking and you're trading, let's say the rupee versus the dollar versus the euro. You could be doing the same thing over here with crypto. But there's math that happens where you can identify where you could have made some money. I don't play that game, but some of you might want to. Some of you might have, the prowess to do that. I don't, but I like to understand how it works. Anyway, this is Eddie J on crypto. I hope my research helps. Again, pay attention to what you're looking at. Stop looking at the shiny things. Everybody's talking about the Sam Bankman-Fried interviews with Andrew Ross Sorkin yesterday on New York Times Dealbook, and the interview that he did this morning with Good Morning America. That's great. With George Stephanopoulos, that's great, right? But that's something that happened. Instead of constantly just listening to that, because it is interesting. But is that really going to help you going forward? Except for one thing, my answer would be no. And that one thing is that you'll be able to look to see what I keep talking about is who's involved with the project. Okay? Again, I point to FTX specifically because how did somebody give FTX hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, and the company had no CFO? He went on television talking about, hey, risk controls and, blah, 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 risk management, failed. Yeah. What risk management? You had somebody in charge of that? No CFO? Just how are you, approving things? Supposedly through emojis? Like, are you serious? At what point does everybody stop saying, oh, it's all him, it's all him, it's all him, and start looking at, yes, he had something to deal with it, and that's fine, but who are the people, what are the companies that were enabling that, right? And so now everybody's focused in terms of what's going on over here, but they're not paying attention necessarily to what's really going on over here. So pay attention to what BlackRock said, to what Larry Fink said. The tokenization of assets, mutual fund holdings, stock holdings, all that stuff, all those securities, the tokenization of securities is a big deal. It really is a big deal. Why do you think DBS, JP Morgan and other banks are testing out how to maneuver money, how to maneuver crypto, how to maneuver assets across border? This is why. This is one of the reasons why. The tokenization of securities. How can we handle this in a quick fashion? No, these companies are not running away from blockchain technology. They're running full steam toward it. Some of them are leveraging their own in-house built technologies. JP Morgan is doing both. They're looking at they've developed their own in-house technology, JP coin, I think it is, JPM coin or JP coin. And then they're also working with Polygon and other technologies. That whole DBS thing, it's on Polygon. Polygon, Aave, and Uniswap were involved in that to demonstrate how DBS and the rest of the companies that they were working with. I did a video on it a couple of weeks ago. Go look at that. But they're showing how they'd be able to do DeFi. Again, looking at the shiny thing over here, the whole FTX thing, the whole, possible that Genesis could implode, and that would have a big effect. And, they tried throwing Grayscale in there. Grayscale's like, hey, wait a minute. Whoa, we have a lot of money. It's being held by Coinbase, and Coinbase was able to verify. So notice how that kind of went away, right? Meanwhile, all of this really goes away because everybody's focused over here. Do your own research. Learn how to focus on what you are interested in and don't get distracted. This is Eddie J on Crypto. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.